So this subject, programs to combine with deal registration. It's a conversation we have many, many times. Is Deal Reg purely a standalone offering? Is that the case in your company? What other programs complement deal registration? And what other programs should you look at delivering with it to realize, number one, increased business benefit for yourself, but also enhance some of those points that Kate, AJ, and John have mentioned before in terms of accessibility, making it fundamental to how they do business with your brand, and also giving your partners enhanced visibility. So on this subject, AJ, would you like to kick us off in terms of the program that you see being combined?
Yes, and we have some very specific applications in the K-12 market. There's a seasonality to it, so there are times we know when schools are going to be purchasing. So we want to drive certain behavior during different quarters with our partners. For example, certain quarters when most of the pipeline building takes place, when we are able to get the opportunity to be part of the school's diligence to look at our solution, we want to incentivize partners to register early and lead with securely. So we will have incentives around deal registration for just getting the deal registration in. Maybe just a pure monetary incentive for just a deal registration, not associated with the closed deal. And then during the time of year when all the deals are closing, we may add when basically the window to actually make those sales is closing, we'll offer an increased margin incentive to get the deal in and close it in a shorter period of time. So we look very closely at the pipeline, where we're at in the season, and then adjust our spiffs and incentives accordingly. So again, that's very specific to my market, and that's the application of how Securely uses it.
Thank you, AJ. Kate?
Yeah, so for Extreme, it's also tightly integrated with the overall program and all sorts of initiatives and incentive programs. And since recently, also fully integrated with our channel self-service offering, which allows resellers and distributors to create quotes and get immediate approvals based on their level, promos, other parameters, like deal reg, for example. So partners can get a deal reg approved and then create the quote tied to that deal reg on the back end immediately with it, and will get the discount they are eligible for. So deal reg is also part of several incentive programs and spiffs. For Extreme, deal reg is really more a carrot than a stick. I don't know if that's a saying in English as well, but so we try to increase benefits on deal reg and motivate partners that way, and additional spiffs, but we don't tie it to the level or downgrade anybody or force anybody to do a certain percentage of their overall revenue.
Okay, so it's enhancing, it's improving, it's building a relationship, it's reducing friction between incentives and deal registration. And John, perhaps a question to you to continue the conversation is: do you see companies where perhaps you see deal registration being where they start and wanting to discover what are the right complementary solutions, or is it a case of saying, guys, Deal Reg does A, B, and C. However, you will get much better benefit, value, and attraction with your partners if you complement it with this solution at the outset?
Yeah, I think what we're hearing from certainly AJ and Kate, we're seeing right across the globe at the minute, JB, is that people are in particular are combining their Deal Reg with spiff programs. And there's a couple of drivers for it. One is there's a huge transition to a services or SaaS-based economy, and the sales life cycle is changing enormously now from that initial, previously just transacting by an on-prem or CapEx type deal, where now you've got to go on a journey with the customer, or your partner has to go on the journey with the customer with you, where you've got to register the deal so the opportunity is on the table. Then you may have to do a proof of concept, a trial. You may have to do a bed-in period, and then hopefully then you win that opportunity. So what we see now is more and more spiffs tied to drive two behaviors. One is to create more opportunities to do the pipeline, a little bit what AJ is experiencing is to drive faster closure of those opportunities in a quarter. So it might be a seasonal thing where you're trying to accelerate and bring forward deals. Very, very common. But one that's very interesting for us now is a lot of companies are starting to look at their partner tiering or their partner leveling, as we call it, programs. And you'll often see now that as a requirement, a specific requirement of a partner eligibility tier is that you must achieve a certain number of deal registrations every quarter, not every month. So I had a really interesting discussion with a couple of vendors recently, and they said that they would rather work with partners that would generate 20 deals worth 50,000 euro per annum than one partner that brings in one deal by 1 million euro per annum. It's a really interesting, so you're trying to drive repeatable sales activity, repeatable sales behaviors, JB. So really interesting to see people tying that in. And you now see a lot of vendors looking to have systems of measurement in place to reflect the number of deal reg quarterly in the QBRs, the quarterly business reviews and dashboards, that they can see if they've really got a sales performing partner rather than just a revenue, one-off revenue transacting partner.
Great. So John, whether deal reg is running on its own or running with complementary solutions such as spiffs and incentives, you're saying, and I think audience, we're seeing here that deal registration as a metric is a KPI, and it tells us a lot about appetite. It tells us a lot about the commitment of our channel partners to actually, work with us, be proactive about their business, perhaps share things that they wouldn't have shared in the past, be more transparent because they buy into the fact that if I can do this correctly, there is minimal friction in how I actually tie all these pieces together. It's better for my business. So that's very good to hear. Thank you for that, team. That's really good feedback for us.